Hello and welcome to the third episode of Minor Region Love, where we go over the minor regions of the League of Legends ecosystem. So the first two instances, I watched quite a few teams play. So if your teams aren't listed here, obviously, or your region's not listed here, I've already probably seen the matchup, or I've seen your team play and have a good grasp of what they're like. If you'd like to know my opinion on the smaller region team after watching one series, I still believe that one series does not give a full indication of a team. It's just scratching the surface, but it's better than nothing, so at least I have some familiarity with what they are like. The other two videos, I've Minor Region Part 1, Minor Region Part 2 on my channel, if you would like to watch those. So the only two series I really wanted to watch was Chief and Pentanet and Flying Oyster versus Beyond Gaming. I really hadn't watched Chief play all season, I don't think, and Flying Oyster I hadn't watched, and Beyond Gaming I hadn't watched, and the PCS matchup's obviously more important because, they're historically the PCS has put out teams that are relevant in Worlds, and then not only that, but both are going to Worlds, right? So both teams is a twofer, where Chief versus Pentanet was just getting a vibe for Chief. So, first series, three links in the description, Twitter, Discord, and YouTube memberships. Discord, self-explanatory. Come join the Discord. We BS about League all day, every day, pretty much. Pretty fun atmosphere. We try and keep the toxicity out, and it's a pretty good time. Twitter, follow me there as I try and spread my social media wings. And then lastly, YouTube memberships. I have two tiers, $3 and $10. $3 to support me so I can keep this going. Pretty much, I mean, I need to be able to keep this going, right? And then $10 is extra content where I do my predictions for the winners. Like tomorrow, I'm going to put out a video for Saturday's games that are going to happen in the LEC and LCS, where I go over how I think those games are going to go with my predictions of winners. Not only like my roundup, I go over the preview, but I go a little bit more in depth with my content that is extra. That includes my prediction on how I think it's going to go for those that do esports gambling and betting. And I also do fantasy football related content for NFL football, National Football League, American football. And those rankings for this weekend came out today, and I am not 100% certain if you get older content if you become a member. If you do, then you do. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to promise you anything, but the week 1 fantasy football rankings did come out today for me. I probably should have looked that up before I said it, but maybe by tomorrow I'll have an idea and I'll be able to rehash it. So now the intro's done, which is probably going to be longer than this video. So Chief and Pentanet Gaming. So Pentanet Gaming has been to MSI and Worlds the last couple of years. Sporadically, they've been able to show up. Chief Esports Club, not so much. And Chief Esports Club this year has been very, very good. 40-2. I say it every power rankings because I had them up there and I had to defend why I had them up there. When you dominate your region as much as you are, it's hard to ignore it. When they have an LCK level jungler, when they have a LCS level bot lane, and yes, they're going to say, oh, well, it's bottom tier, but it's still LCS level, right? You can't say that about a lot of minor region bot lanes, that they are major region ready. And this one is capable. Reyes and Alidoric could play for Immortals tomorrow, and it wouldn't look any different than Lost and Ignar. So that's kind of how I look at that. Tally in mid is borderline LCS level, and Topun is kind of just like average in top lane, but kind of finishes it off. That was my vibe going into it. I've seen most of these players play in the LCS a bit, except Alidoric. So game 1 was a slow early game. I have notes for this because, I'm going through it. It was a slow early game, but at 5, there was an ace at the third Drake at 18 minutes. It kind of ended the game. Pretty self-explanatory here, actually. Chief were able to easily snowball a fight where Reyes got a couple kills on a Felios, I believe, and then just ran with it, which actually showed a lot of efficient, clean macro to finish off a game in a quick, I think it was under 30 minutes. And game 2 is very similar. They had a level 1 planned, which is huge. We don't see a lot of level 1s, and if they want to be able to sneak a game off of one of the major regions, they're going to need a level 1, right? In a best of 1 situation, that is entirely a thing that you can do, right? A level 1, all of a sudden, do you steal a game off of an EG, or do you steal a game off of a Mad Lions as Chief with a level 1? I mean, it's possible, right? At least put yourself in the right spot. Arthur really carried this game on the Trundle. He was 3-1-0 at 7 minutes, really active, and really carried throughout the entire game and snowballed this early lead into another win under 30 minutes. Game 4, they would lose game 3, but game 4, Chief would end up running Seraphine mid with Zyra Khan bot lane, and they looked, yeah, it was kind of messy, this one. A very close game. PetNet Gaming coming off of a win. This game would go 40 minutes long. A very slow game. It was still close at 23 minutes. At 26 minutes, Chief would get an ace. And I thought at that point they would pull away, but they really didn't. They ended up getting behind again. So Chief really struggled to finish it off in this one. The Seraphine may have been kind of being cute. I'm not a fan of Seraphine mid. Seraphine bot is something interesting, but Seraphine mid is really not my cup of tea. And however, at the end, Chief, when it came down, I think both teams had soul point. When it was setting up for Infernal in the 7th Drake of the game, they were able to do some great macro decisions. Going down mid, taking an inhib, and not losing the Drake at the same time really left PetNet in a tight spot where they really didn't know what to do. And then Chief were able to end with an ace at 39 minutes, well, a 4-0. And I mean, Chief looks solid. Nothing really stands out to me outside of like just team fighting better than the opponent. And Arthur is very active and can get the job done, which is kind of what I thought this team was going to be about. I mean, Arthur has put up monster numbers. And it was also a big deal because he was against Balkan, who's also, I believe, a Korean jungler. May have played in the TCL before the LCO, but still a player, I think, that was the second-rated jungler in the region this past split, so that was a thing. And then CFO and Beyond Gaming. So, person in my comments, I don't know, I think it was maybe in the top 25 video, they are a PCS fan, they must be, or a VCS fan or something, but they had some insight about Flying Oyster and how Flying Oyster was beating GAM in scrims, which is interesting, right? Because GAM is, you know, this is a battle for the top minor region, right? Sorry, I need a drink here. So that's a big deal, right? We're trying to find out. I believe the VCS are really going to challenge the PCS because we don't have PSG and J team here, and we have the 2 top dogs from VCS here for sure, right? But CFO, they're like, VCS plays like a LPL team, and it's like, well, yeah, they do. If you scrim Saigon Buffalo, you're playing against a real LPL team. GAM kind of plays a in-between style where I think Saigon Buffalo play really, really, really aggressive. But this was very LCK-like, not LPL-like at all. Game 1, very slow early game, 12 minutes. We ended up with our first fight. It was just very slow. At 19 minutes, Beyond would actually take the 3rd Drake, preventing CFO from going to Soul Point. But CFO worked, clearly showing an aptitude. They really emphasized objectives in this series, game 1 especially. At 30 minutes, though, because the game was just slow. Like, I think there was only like 20 kills in like a 40-minute game or so. Shun had a triple kill on Calista at 30 minutes, which kind of just allowed the ball to start rolling for CFO in the late game. Gemini did not look very good, though, going 1-6-6 on like a Wukong. So that's a little concerning. Clearly, Husha was better than Gemini in this series. I thought Husha and Minji actually looked pretty good at times in these losses. And then they would just end. I think like they just ended off of the snowball. Game 2, 8 minutes. Rest really showed his ability. You know, people have been saying Rest is cracked, and he was. He outplayed a gank at 8 minutes on a Gnar that resulted in him getting a double kill and literally killing the second member from like, I want to say over half health, and Rest had like nothing left. Like Rest had like 10% health left. And he had Gnar ultimate still, but he outplayed it. He outplayed Laikai and Husha, and really did a great job in that game, in that early game. And then he kind of carried that throughout the rest of the game. At 18 minutes, CFO would open up to a 6K gold lead, and they just rolled. Minji and Husha were really carrying in the mid to late game. And then the stats were really deceiving kill-wise. A lot of sloppy play out of CFO. Like, they extended their gold lead. I mean, they were up like 10K gold, but only 3 kills. So they were really kind of getting picked off, but Beyond Gaming weren't able to do anything with it, which is kind of concerning for Beyond Gaming. If they get behind, they can find kills, but they're really not able to get anything out of it, which is, you know, in this tournament, they're going to have to not only find a way to get kills, but find macro decisions trying, you know, to come back in games if they have to. Game 3, we had a very slow Game 3. 13 minutes was first blood, but CFO would then get a kill on top side and then also dive bot lane and get 3 or 4 kills in that way as well. And at 13 minutes, the laning phase ended and CFO just opened up a lead and the game was over. I mean, CFO just kind of snowballed from there. They won the game 29-5. The kill score, very indicative of what the game was like, right? I mean, they play slow. These two PCS teams play slow. And I always worry about minor region teams that scale because, I mean, LCS, right? Joke is a minor region, right? You see the LCS do it. They scale against the LCK and LPL, and they're like, okay, well, we'll just scale and then wait for a team fight and win, right? That does not work necessarily against players that are outright better than you. That's not how, like, it's not going to get it done. You can't, playing their game when you're not as good as them is not the way. It's not the way. I really don't think it's the way. So, this slow play style, I think, is just going to result in a slow death. For Beyond Gaming, for sure. But CFO, I mean, Rest looks good. Like, he looks like he's going to take advantage. Well, not take advantage, but not be taken advantage of by top laners, right? I think he definitely fits the bill as the best minor region top laner over maybe Hazmid and Kaea. Beyond, Husha and Minji look solid. Jungle mid duo, maybe they can get something done in these games against, you know, the Chiefs and the DFMs of the world and things like that. I think that that's feasible, but I do not think that they... I don't think that they're going to crack that top 20 that I have in my power rankings. I think they're definitely going to be one of those teams that I think are going to be out. But that's it for Minor Region Love Part 3. Comment down below if you're a fan of the PCS or LCO, and give us some more insight on what these teams have to offer. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Go to the Discord and become a member. And once again, thank you for watching. Tomorrow we're going to have... World's 2022 preview video and roundup and 12-17. Ooh, we got 3 videos tomorrow, so stay tuned.